GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to GALP. I'm here with Will today, who's actually normally one of the hosts on Kunai. So Will, say hello.
Hello, Will.
Yeah, there you go. Today we're going to be talking about, Will, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it pronounced Disgaea or Disgaea, or how do you pronounce it?
I say Disgaea.
Okay,
personally.
so we're going to be talking about the Disgaea series, a series that is somewhat beloved. It's been going on for more than 20 years at this point, made by NIS. Nippon Ichi Software, published by NIS America, and we will talk about it in a moment. But before we do, I want to thank our sponsors, Sugoimon and Crunchyroll. You guys will be hearing the ads later on within the episode, and also before that, I just want to talk about what we've been playing recently. So, Will, have you been playing anything interesting recently?
So I got into Nikkei.
Okay.
Goddess of Victory.
Yeah.
If you've heard of that.
I have heard of it.
Gacha mobile game, but they also have a PC client.
Mm-hmm.
I've really been getting in that. The story in it is really freaking good. Like, there's this whole, meme about it just being because, you're playing with, hot waifu, like a lot of gacha games, but the story in it and the music, oh my god, I seriously want to start buying some of the music CDs for it.
Oh, wow.
I'm a little bit irked right now, though, because I've been playing for just a few weeks now, and there's been a couple particular characters that I've really been trying to get, so every time I get enough time to, like, roll in the gacha for them, I try and haven't gotten them yet. Well, a friend of mine just started playing, like, 4 days ago. Yeah, he's already gotten 2 of the characters that I've been chasing.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's alright. It's alright. I mean, that's how these games work, man.
Yeah, that's how they kind of get you in, to be fair with you. So, anything else other than, like, mobile games? Have you been playing anything on the Switch? Or
Oh, yeah.
like...
Still working through another playthrough of Fire Emblem Engage.
Okay.
I've also been playing a heck of a lot of this game called Generation Zero, which has been out, I think, since, like, it was either 2016 or 2019 when it came out. It's this post-apocalyptic game, but instead of, fighting zombies, you're fighting these robots and discovering where they all came from and things like that. And it's like, even though you do come across a few other humans in the world, there are not many. Almost everyone's been wiped out. It's set in this, like, island and archipelago in Sweden. It's a very, very fun game, but you can get it for cheap on, like, Steam. And then it does have DLC, but all the DLC is really cheap too. And it's also multiplayer, so you can play with other people and stuff like that. It's kind of like more like a looter shooter type of a game, something like Borderlands.
Okay.
But a little bit more, like, darker. Like, it's funny, even though it's robots, there are some, like, scary elements to the game. Like, you'll go into, like, military bunkers, and there's, like, no lights on, and you gotta find the power room, and they have these little robots called, like, ticks that will, like, hide around corners and literally jump at your face. It's been pretty fun. I've been playing that. Yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing. Of course, I still, dabble in City Skylines from time to time, and yeah, there's a bunch of RPGs out right now that I want to get into. I've just been holding off just because of time. Like, I have, like, all of the newest Super Robot Wars as well. Yeah. Super Robot Wars 30th, but I have yet to finish that as well. I've got all these half-played games that I've just got to get back into.
Did it not get a, like, Western release? I think the more recent one, did it not? Or was it only PC?
Yeah, Super Robot Wars 30? Yeah, so it released, like, simultaneously, like, worldwide.
Okay, but only on PC,
and
right?
You can get it on, on PC. Well, I'm almost positive it's also out on Switch, and I think PlayStation. I'll have to double check that to be sure, but I mean, I bought it on Steam, of course, just because it's just easier for me over here.
Because I was pretty sure that it didn't get a release outside of Japan. I mean, okay, it did get released on PC, I know that, but like in terms of like console releases,
I'll double check that. I'm pretty sure it is out on consoles as well, because I know, like, you can get Super Robot Wars 5T and X on Switch, for instance. But yeah, I'll double check that. I don't know off the top of my head.
I checked now. So it got a release on consoles in Japan and in Asia, but North America and the EU only got Steam release, but it didn't get console version.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
Not even on Switch?
Not even on Switch. I don't know why, though, because they would have already localized the game. They could have at least put it digital only. It seems a bit weird.
Yeah. It might be one of those things, too, where they're doing, like, a delayed release, kind of like how Disgaea 6, for instance.
Yes. Oh, my God.
When it came out, it launched, like,
the hell was that about?
5 months, I think, early in Japan compared to the West. Because I have the Japanese version and you can't play it in English.
Yeah, dude, what was that about? Because I remember when we got the press releases from NIS America and when the game was announced, and then it was just like random because Japan got a PS4 version of the game, and then Europe and America only got the Switch version, and it was like, what, a year later?
Right.
I thought we kind of got past this whole point. They
decided to put it out, yeah.
It was weird. I was like, why? I didn't understand that.
Honestly, I have no idea what they are doing right now. So this whole thing is like with Disgaea is that it had been so long from Disgaea 5 to 6 that like a lot of people like in the different circles and fandoms, at least ones that I partake in, were kind of pushing like, hey, when 6 goes out, you know, people got to buy it. We got to make this a good game if we want to get more Disgaea games even being released in the West. So then like when it launched early, you know, in Japan, and then we had to wait for the, you know, Western release to come out, people were kind of worried about that. And then of course, too, when it only launched on Switch, too, that was kind of concerning. Nothing has been confirmed, but a lot of people are speculating that maybe, like, they reached out to Nintendo, kind of like how, you know, Sony will work with certain publishers and partners to kind of kick them a little extra money to make it exclusive, even if it's, you know, a timed exclusive. There might have been something going on with that, but nothing's ever been confirmed that I've, you know, cared to keep up with, to be honest.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what to think, because now, from what I'm looking at, it got re-released on PlayStation 4 and 5 in like 2022. So it got another year wait for it to get released on like more traditional home consoles, which I thought it just seemed a bit weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, at least for me, I only got into the Disgaea series during COVID on your suggestion. So it was an interesting one, and obviously I played it on the Switch because that was an easy way for me to get it. Like, it was cheaper to buy the Switch cartridges than to buy it on PC, because at that time I didn't even have a PC. All I had was a Mac, so I was like, okay, I'll just buy the Switch game, and it was an enjoyable experience there. So I didn't really feel that it was odd to be playing 6 on the Switch as well, although some other players could kind of feel a bit weird because this, if I'm not mistaken, this is a series that started on the PlayStation 2, right?
Yep, it was originally a PS2 game back in the day.
The thing is, it shows. Like, playing the original, it feels like a PS2 game. It comes from that era. A lot of the jokes kind of almost come from that era as well. It's just very, very odd. We'll get into it in a little bit because I want to talk about what I've been playing recently. You guys may know I've been playing a lot of games for the podcast, and I've been a bit ill, hence why we haven't been doing many episodes, but there'll be more and more episodes coming out, so expect an episode on Coffee Talk. I don't know if you know about that game, Will, that series.
I do not.
It's like a visual novel game, you know, like it's like a bartending game, but you're a barista in like a coffee shop, and it tells a story.
I've seen things of that. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Valhalla. I think it's kind of like Valhalla, the bartending game. Similar aspect to that, but it's not set in like a post-apocalyptic world. What I thought was very interesting about that game was obviously it's an independent developer and studio, and obviously since the first Coffee Talk game, they sort of got quite big. Not as big, but they got a little bit bigger, and you know, a lot of stuff happened in between. And it's interesting because that game was created by it's called Toge Productions. They're based in Indonesia, and it was just interesting to see like the level of culture that they put into it, all the different references to different drinks and different coffees and from around the world. It was pretty cool, and just the story of that game was just amazing. So they sent a copy of the second game, which you can buy now, by the way. I recommend it. It's relatively cheap on the eShop. It's like, what, maybe it's less than $20, I can say that for sure, but it's a fantastic game. Doesn't take that long to complete it, but you really almost need to play the first game to sort of get the second game, because it kind of continues from the first game. So there's that. I've been playing Advanced Wars.
Oh man, like I said, it's one of those things I've been holding off on buying anymore right now, just because my gaming time is so limited right now. Plus, like I said, I'm trying to save up for a big trip in August, so it's like not only do I not have the time really to get into more stuff, but you know, just saving every penny I can until trip time in August.
Dude,
I want Advanced Wars so bad.
It's a good game. I just have a few issues with Advanced Wars. We're gonna do a full episode on it. I would kind of almost want an option to, I want an option to kind of go back to the sprites You know what I mean? Like the old school
Yeah,
Game Boy
okay, I
sprites.
get it. Yeah, that would be nice. Kind of like that's one of the things that I loved about Dragon Quest 11, how you could switch back and forth between, old school like SNES graphics and, more modern stuff. That was really neat.
Like, I don't mind the modern art style in terms of, like, the 2D side of things, like the actual, sprites of the characters in that sense. That looked pretty awesome because it's done by Way Forward, right? And, they've made, like, Half Genie Hero, that kind of stuff. So they're really good at that sort of art style, but it was just the 3D art style of, like, the 3D models of, like, the soldiers and the tanks and stuff, to me, just looked horrible. It just looked like, those cheap sort of knockoff mobile games, you know what I mean? Like those ones that you see on adverts. Yeah, they kind of look like that.
It's like how you see things that are like, differently being, on your mobile game market, that it looks like a straight rip off of something like World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls, things like that.
Exactly that. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like this, it looks like a Clash of Clans game. Like I didn't like it. It didn't, and it kind of almost put me off the game. Like the gameplay is fantastic. The game itself is really good. The story is compelling. There's not much of a story, but it's still quite interesting, and the characters are almost lovable.
That makes me curious. Have you noticed any like performance issues on Switch with them being in this more like 3D sprite style?
No, oddly enough, no. I don't find any sort of performance issues, and I think it's because the game is relatively basic, and even the 3D models themselves, I wouldn't say they're low poly, but they don't have much detail. And another thing that I don't like as well is you can skip animations, but I would love it so that the animations weren't as cheesy. Do you understand what I'm getting at? Because it's like when you're taking over a base or whatever, or like a city or a town, the soldier that goes there sort of jumps on the town, and it just looks like such a childish animation. And I don't know, like for a game that's about war, I would have expected more than that.
Also, with it being a game about war, I remember reading not too long ago that they did end up having to change some things and censor some things, and it's one of the reasons why the game even got delayed, because of the whole like war in Ukraine and all this stuff. So they decided to change some things in the game, so that might be part of it. They've tried to make it a little bit more cutesy like that, which honestly, something like that, without seeing it myself, doesn't really bother me, just hearing you describe it and everything. But I could kind of understand how it's not going to be for everyone.
I get it. And look, you can turn off the animations completely, but the thing is, I don't want to do that because there's some great animations in there, like when you're fighting the enemy army, right? If you're in a forest, you see your side of the people on the forest, and then they might be in a river, so you see those kind of great animations there and the scenery there. I don't want to skip that aspect of it, but I just want to skip the sort of cringy animations that go on. But other than that, no, it's a fantastic game. I've never experienced this game before. This is my first time experiencing it, and the fact that you can build your own map. I spent more time building my own maps just for myself, and I was excited, like when my friends come over, we're all gonna join in, because you can get 4-player local multiplayer, which is insane, especially
That's
for
really cool.
It is. It's kind of fun. And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna build this map for this time and this, and it allows you to be very strategic, and I like that. I will say this: the game is so hard, though.
Oh yeah, I still remember it, even back the original version on Game Boy Advance, man, just bashing my head against it, and even then it was so funny because you still had these cute main characters and antagonists, and the antagonist characters would just talk so much crap to you, and it would just make you even more angry.
Dude, that still happens. I'm not gonna lie to you. They egg you on and shit, and I'm like, dude, just fuck off. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, it's a very enjoyable game, and I do spend a lot of time on it. I will say this is a kind of game that it's mainly, I would say, more designed for handheld play. Like if you're playing this docked, it's not as fun. I don't know why. I find it's a bit more tedious when it's docked.
I can see that. That's like, for instance, even though I have Super Robot Wars 30th on Steam, I have X and T on Switch, and when I feel like playing them, usually I will just go and I'll chill in my bed or just sit in my floor and play with it, handheld versus playing on the big screen TV. I don't know what it is, even though it's the exact same controls, but just something about just having that screen right in my face.
Yeah,
is easier way of saying it, and looking at the grid and everything. It's easier for me. That being said, though, when I play Fire Emblem, I like to play it on the TV.
You know what?
So I'm kind of backwards there.
You know what? Well, I disagree with you, because for me, this game definitely with Advance Wars, I agree on the point that curled up in bed, playing the game. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. It kind of brings me back to a time, you know, where when you were younger and shit, you'd be playing on your Game Boy, and then your mum would hear it, and then you'd go into your room, check if you were awake or if you were sleeping, and you'd just be under the covers pretending to be asleep and shit. Like, it gave me that sort of nostalgia again. And even with Fire Emblem, it's the same thing with me, because when I was playing Fire Emblem, at least Three Houses, because that was like my first Fire Emblem game, like my first official Fire Emblem game, I was playing that game. It was around the time where my half of the house collapsed, so I couldn't really play the game docked. I just played it in handheld mode, and it was just so compelling. It was great. And that kind of almost brings me on to the point about Fire Emblem Engage. What's your thoughts on it? Because I wasn't too impressed.
Overall, I really enjoyed the combat in it. It reminded me a bit more of some of the older Fire Emblem games. I wasn't as engaged with the story, though, and I did not like as many of the characters in Engage. And I'll actually say there were more characters that I disliked versus, you know, playing in the previous entry of Three Houses. But I will say that Engage felt more overall like a more old school Fire Emblem game, just in my personal opinion. But I mean, I enjoy both games so far on Switch, but I still like the 3DS iteration of the series like the best overall so far, that series of games.
I really agree with you in the sense that I could not really care about the characters in the game. Like, with Three Houses being my first Fire Emblem game, I couldn't even care about all the references and all the sort of, I don't know, you know how in Engage you have those characters from past games appear and they help you out and shit. I couldn't care about them because I'm like, who are these characters? Like, genuinely, it was a bit weird, and I just didn't get into it. I get it in that sense, it's a level of fan service.
Engage is definitely a game that I think was more marketed or designed for like kind of more the old school fan.
Definitely.
Than, you know, it was people that started with Three Houses. So Three Houses is like not a lot of people, you know, realize just kind of how much of a departure it was from the typical Fire Emblem formula. And that's neither a good thing nor a bad thing. It's just a thing that happened. And I still really enjoyed Three Houses, you know, like I was really excited that we were finally getting the first like console, you know, quote unquote Fire Emblem game since I believe, was it GameCube? I never played Wii, so I don't even remember which ones were on the Wii.
I don't even think there was a Fire Emblem game on the Wii, was there?
Like I said, I don't know. Like, that generation was just at a weird time for me where I kind of checked out, and like at that time I was like only PC gaming pretty much.
It's an interesting one as well, because I think a lot of people kind of got into Fire Emblem because of Three Houses. I know I was one of them.
It definitely grew the fandom, I think.
Like, I know definitely I was one of them, and I know even for like Fire Emblem Three Hopes, which was the Musou spin-off, right? That sold, I'm pretty sure that sold more than the original Fire Emblem Warriors, which was their first sort of Fire Emblem Musou game, which it's just interesting in general. Oh no, Will, you're right. There is a Fire Emblem on the Wii. I'm trying to figure out what's the name of it. Sorry, I'm checking.
Sorry, Fire Emblem fans. Even though I'm a fan of the series, like I said, the Wii generation I just skipped out on. I wonder if it's one of those games that you can get like digitally somehow now.
Like on the eShop? They closed the eShop, no?
We've talked in the past about how I want to kind of get back into like game collecting, like actually getting like physical games and everything. And honestly, one of the things I've been thinking about is going back and collecting for like the Wii U, because the Wii U I think is backwards compatible with the Wii, isn't it?
Yeah, you can play Wii games on the Wii U, but the thing is the stores are closed now, so they're pretty much like you have to rely on physical.
Yeah, well that's the whole thing is, because it's a smaller library, and it's like it's one that I don't think the prices have gotten too crazy for. Is right now collecting for like GameCube or like SNES, those are like super crazy to try to collect for. I think the Wii and Wii U are just now kind of starting to pick up.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for the Wii just because of the fact that the Wii is it's such a mass-produced console in the sense that it's sold so many copies, and there's a lot of games floating around on the Wii. The Wii U, not so much.
Since I skipped out on that generation, it would still be all kind of like fresh and new to me.
I think if you want to get into like Wii like collections and stuff, I don't even think like don't bother with the Wii U, because a lot of the games on the Wii U have been re-released on Switch, so it's not really worth it. If you want to get into the Wii, just get a Wii, just get a normal Nintendo Wii. You can find them, they're super cheap, used, and the best thing about the original Wii is that it was backwards compatible with the GameCube, so you could put in GameCube games in there, or read them, or play them. You can put in the original GameCube controllers. You will tell if it's one of the more like earlier models if the top of the Wii has like a little flat and you can see the controller ports.
Yeah,
that's the one that's compatible.
There's a retro gaming channel, well, a couple of them that I follow on YouTube, and they were showing off some of the differences in the Wii's one time like that. So yeah, that's good to know. I think I actually saw them talking about it on Metal Jesus one time too.
Oh wow. Oh, you know what? Can we give a shout out to Metal Jesus? Not that he needs it, but I fucking love his channel. Like, I love Metal Jesus, man. He's so cool.
His guests are good too. What I like about like, you know, him and his guests, it's one of those things too, like they'll be like, yeah, we collect this game just because we're collectors, but it's not really that great of a game. Like, they'll just flat out tell you.
Yeah. Oh man, I love his honesty as well, you know. Metal Jesus, you know what? He's one of the people that I would love to have on the podcast, just to shoot the shit with him and learn more about him, because I've been watching his shit like since he started on YouTube. Like,
I've been following him a long time. I don't know if it's been since he started, but I mean, I still remember when he didn't even have like the beard or the Fu Manchu.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. Oh my god, that was early days though. All of that aside, though, it's interesting that when we're talking about Fire Emblem, right? Because it's a weird one. Because I didn't like Engage. Don't get me wrong, the combat was great. I didn't like Engage because it just felt weird. Like, it almost felt cheap. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because Three Houses and even Three Hopes.
A friend of mine who's like even more into the Fire Emblem games than I am, he was like, this is like your shonen version of Fire Emblem as far as the characterization and story is.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
That makes 100%
This is like
sense.
this is your Jujutsu Kaisen, Dragon Ball-esque, I don't want to say fairy tale, but yeah, it's kind of like that.
I would say fairy tale. I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I actually like fairy tale, so I don't want to say anything that makes it come off in a negative light.
Fair enough. It's just so interesting, though, because it's like, there's so many things that are like so off-putting. It's kind of like Advance Wars in the sense that even the art style, you go from Three Houses, which is fucking beautiful, to the 2D artwork, to the 3D artwork and animation, and the way that the characters look and they act. And then you have this stupid ass character that's got blue and red hair. Like, what the fuck? No, that's stupid.
I didn't mind it at all.
I thought it was bullshit.
You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I liked it, but I didn't mind it either.
I remember shitting on the leaks. Remember when the leaks came out and people were shitting on it? I remember shitting on it, and I was like, "There's no way they could
like
do
from
that."
day one. Everyone just called her Toothpaste Chan.
Dude, it was like, what's that toothpaste name? Shit, what's the name?
Aquafresh.
Yeah, Aquafresh, but there's a different name for it. Shit, what's it called? Aquafresh is what they call it in Europe. What's the American name for it?
Aquafresh.
Signal. No, it's called Signal.
Well, you're thinking Colgate. You're thinking of Colgate.
No,
yeah,
there's
Colgate's the other one.
No, I'm not talking about Colgate. I'm talking about Aquafresh, but it's called Signal in some countries. Wait.
Oh.
I'm sure it's called Signal. Wait.
No, in America, there's Aquafresh and there's Colgate, but I don't recall anything being called Signal. Man, what kind of topic are we even getting into?
I'm sorry.
Right now?
Wait. Signal is owned by Unilever. Okay, we know that. Wait. Signal. I'm sorry. It's real. Okay. Signal
I almost
was
spit my coffee.
Aquafresh. So Aquafresh became Signal, but that's what it was. The OGs know about Signal. If you know, you know. Signal, that's where it was at. If you live in like outside of America, you know about Signal. It's basically Aquafresh. Yeah, exactly. Aquafresh Chan. Dude, I miss Signal. I don't know, dude. Like, I miss, you know what? I miss toothpaste that actually have the stripes in them. You know what I mean? You can't get that anymore.
This episode of GALP is presented to you by Aquafresh. Get that fresh feeling in your gaming.
You know what, man, dude? The irony is, so the people that used to run PR for Crunchyroll actually do PR for Aquafresh, so that we could try and get them to sponsor us. Aquafresh, if you're listening, sponsor us. Okay, a little bit of a side topic. What is your favorite?
Back on topic.
No, we're not going back on. We're on the topic of toothpaste because of Fire Emblem. What is your favorite toothpaste?
My favorite toothpaste?
Your favorite toothpaste. You know what I mean?
I'm actually really weird. I like really mild toothpaste.
Okay.
Like, I don't like ones that are, like, overtly strong. Which, granted, I know a lot of people like the strong stuff, you know, to help with, like, bad breath and all that stuff. But, like, believe it or not, I like to just use, you know, the Costco Kirkland brand.
See, we don't have
teeth
that
whitening
here.
Toothpaste.
If we had that here, I would buy the shit out of it. We don't have all of the Kirkland.
And, like, the tube itself is, like, so huge. And then, like, it's, like, 3 or 4 tubes in a pack. Like, if you buy one, like, those 4 tubes will last you, like, probably 2 years.
See, this is the thing. Like,
ridiculous.
We don't get all of the Kirkland brand because most of the Kirkland branded stuff is like made in America, and we don't get all of them because they have to sort of import them into the UK. So when I go to Costco, right, I'm buying the standard Colgate, the blue one, and you get like a pack of 12 in Costco, because that's how Costco works. But my favorite toothpaste, there was this one called Close Up. I don't know if you know that. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. I remember. Oh yeah, we used to have Close Up in America. We might still. Like, I don't know. It's like a lot of Japanese brands are different. Like, you can get Aquafresh in Japan, but like they have another brand here called like Lion, Lion, and another one called Gum, Gum.
Okay.
Usually here in Japan though, I usually get the gum one, the GUM one.
Okay, fair enough.
It's actually, even though I said I don't really like strong tasting toothpaste, it does have a mild minty flavor.
Like,
that I dig.
I'm a big fan of Close Up just because it's like cinnamon flavored.
Yeah, they used to have commercials when I was a kid for Close Up where basically it was like people like getting ready for a date and all that type of stuff. So like that was their whole shtick, because you're getting close up to another person, like to get ready to kiss them, so you better have good breath.
It's interesting though, because it's like I only found out about it because my cousins used to import it from the US, because some of them used to live in America, so they used to import that shit, and they never used to have it in the UK. And then they recently released it in the UK, and I'm like, dude, this isn't strong. This isn't like the American shit. I was really upset by it, but it's one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is Ethymol. That shit though will give you ulcers in your mouth because it's that strong. Don't use it. It's like, it's antiseptic toothpaste. I don't know how to explain, but no, that's actually what it is. It's antiseptic.
Okay. All right. On that note, let's get back to the
No. I need to finish this. I'm sorry, Will. I need to finish this.
Oh my god.
My actual favorite toothpaste, and I hate saying this, I don't want to buy it, but at the same time I kind of do. You know the toothpaste that they make for kids?
There's several, but yes.
You know the Colgate one that they make for kids, like the ones with the cool flavors?
Oh yeah, where it'll have like a strip of almost like, it's kind of like a gel, and it'll be like cherry flavor, or bubblegum flavor, stuff like that.
That shit. I'm upset that I can't go into a store and buy it. Like, what stops me from buying kids' toothpaste, right? Isn't it all the same shit in the end?
Yourself?
Yeah, no one's gonna.
I mean,
know.
why? If you like it, just buy it.
I know, but like, isn't it kind of weird? I don't know how to explain it, because obviously toothpaste doesn't have like
It's
sugar
not weird.
in it.
Like, I know people who still use, like, to this day, like the Johnson & Johnson No More Tears shampoo, because they don't like normal shampoos.
I always thought that shit was No More Tears because it doesn't burn your eyes. That's what I thought when you're shampooing. The reason it's No More Tears is that when you're brushing your hair, especially as a kid, or if you're brushing your kid's hair, like, it doesn't you don't hurt your child, if that makes sense. They don't cry while you're brushing their hair. So that makes sense. It's almost like detangling. But yeah, going back onto the Colgate kids toothpaste, the reason why I'm a little bit hesitant is because I'm like, okay, is it going to protect my teeth the same way that the normal Colgate would? You know what I mean?
I don't see why not.
And I'm going to say a little bit of a secret. I used to eat that shit. That bubblegum toothpaste.
Alright, Bish. That's a little TMI.
I'm sorry, I used to eat it. Like, as a kid. No, dude, you can't. It used to taste great, okay? That's what it's about. And also, Will, this is another thing. You haven't really been on GALP before, so this is the thing about GALP.
I'm pretty sure this is my first time
This probably is your first time. On GALP, we love the tangents. It's not like Kunai. It's a different experience, but GALP has always been about the tangents, and I think the audience knows that, and they love that. But back onto games, we're going to go on a break, and then we're actually going to talk about Disgaea. So, yeah, we'll be back after this break. Now it's a better time than ever to be an anime fan with Crunchyroll that has the world's largest anime collection. You can watch new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan, enjoy access to unlimited ad-free anime, read hundreds of chapters across dozens of manga titles, and save with exclusive Crunchyroll store discounts. So if you guys go to crunchyroll.com/kunai, that's crunchyroll.com/kunai for your 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium service. Remember, you guys, we love Crunchyroll. We use them on Kunai. I personally love them. I personally use them all the time. We've been going to Crunchyroll events for a long time sponsor of the podcast. And you know what? They are the best place to watch anime legally online with over 30,000 episodes. And at the moment, if you're listening to this, they've got the largest fall lineup in history for fall 2022 with over 40 simulcasting titles. That is insane. So join Crunchyroll with our link, crunchyroll.com/kunai for 14-day free trial. In addition to that, you've got different perks with your premium service. You can either go with your mega fan, you can go with fan service, or your mega fan for 12 months. Personally, the biggest savings that you're going to make is if you do your mega fan option. If you live in the UK, that's only £60 a year. That's VAT inclusive. That's cheaper than any streaming service at the moment, especially if you're into anime. You got all your anime pretty much in one place. That's no ads, unlimited access to the Crunchyroll library, new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan for your simulcasts, access to your digital manga, streaming on 4 devices at the same time, as well as offline viewing. You would not believe how many times offline viewing has saved me. Beyond the tube, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no 5G. I'm like, I want to watch anime. Boom! I'm watching Overlord. I'm watching Dr. Stone. I'm watching Naruto. I'm watching DBZ. You've got it all on Crunchyroll. So that's crunchyroll.com/kunai. That's crunchyroll.com/KUNAI. Back onto the episode. Are you a fan of anime and Japanese pop culture? I know I am. So why don't you get your asses down to Sugoimart? All right, that's sugoimart.com. Alternatively, you can use our link, getlifepodcast.com/sugoi. That'll take you to our special link on Sugoimart. That is getlifepodcast.com/SUGOI. And use our code GALP, that is GALP, for 15% off on everything on Sugoimart. And you can use the code multiple times if you really love Sugoimart and you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go and purchase the best things that Japan has to offer. Food and drink, beauty items, collectibles, toys and games. You can actually buy Gunpla from Sugoimart, as well as a lot of things for your home. Kitchen appliances, bathroom, bedroom stuff. They've got these really lovely Spy Family campus notebooks. I'm a big fan of stationery, as you guys know, and they've got that there as well. There's some really cool stuff on here. You can also purchase experience sets, which is basically like kits to make matcha, to make onigiri, and they'll provide everything basically. Whatever you want, Sugoimart has got it. They've got a lot of really cool stuff from Japan, and as you guys know, every sort of month or so, they give us a care package that we show off to you guys, which I think is pretty cool. So they've got really nice stuff included. They also sell Pokemon cards and a lot of genuinely hyped stuff. What we want to do is that we want to find out the weirdest things on the Sugoimart website and get Sugoimart to send them to us. So Sugoimart, if you're listening, let's prepare that. Let's just get the weirdest stuff and send it my way. And we'll talk about it on a episode of Umai. They've got some really, really nice stuff. If you want to get items from Japan quite easily, some really nice quirky items, then you can go to sugoimart.com, use the code GALP for 15% off on your purchase. They've got some really nice stuff, whether you're an anime fan, whether you're a fan of Japanese culture, or even if you're a fan of Disney. They've got a lot of Disney items on there. So experience Japan from the comfort of your own home with Sugoimart. Use the code GALP for 15% off. Thank you, Sugoimart, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And back on to the episode. Okay, we're back. We're not going to talk about Toothpaste anymore. But Will, how did you get into Disgaea?
Sure. All right, so just to kind of reiterate things here. So, like, my overall history when it comes to, like, tactical RPGs and games of this nature is that, like, I've played several going back even to the Super Nintendo and PS1 days. So, like, my earliest memory of playing these types of games was playing Tactics Ogre on Super Nintendo. But then, of course, what really kicked it off for me was Final Fantasy Tactics when that came out on PS1. And then, you know, obviously even now, today, I still play games like Fire Emblem and Super Robot Wars 2. So as far as like getting into Disgaea, like at the time during the PS2 era of games and like the original Xbox, I was mostly only into like open world gaming at that time, or like World War II or sci-fi shooters. So of course, like I was also PC gaming at that time, getting into games like the Battlefield series and playing Halo on Xbox. And outside of like Final Fantasy or your big title RPG games, I just wasn't into much else at that time. But my then roommate at the time, who he was also into RPGs and stuff, he actually picked up Disgaea 1 on like a whim. I think he just saw it and liked the art style on the cover. So I sat with him and watched him play for a bit and everything. And like the further he got into the game, like I remember the first night he probably played the game for like 18 straight hours. And like I sat by his side most of the time, like eating chips and drinking soda and watching with him. And then of course I had to go out and get it for myself like a few days later. So I'll say like overall, by no means am I an expert in the Disgaea series. Like I've never completely 100% completed them. I'm not like a trophy hunter and stuff like that, but I still play them a lot. I still replay them from time to time too. And then my, you know, name, like most people, you know me as some iteration of Yam, but it comes from the item Yam Starch, which is a low-level item consumable in the Disgaea series. And I don't know why, just back when I first saw that, I was like, what the hell is Yam Starch? And I just found it like oddly funny and amusing, and it just kind of stuck with it, you know, and stuck with me since then.
Now we know the origin. Like for me, when I was kind of getting into it, I got into it during COVID, during the lockdowns, right? Where everyone was at home and they were doing nothing. Horrible time. But I got into it during that time because you had suggested it. You've been kind of talking about this game series, and this was around the time where 6 was announced. I don't think even 6 released at this time, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't think it was out yet, but I was telling like a bunch of people about it. I'm like, 6 is coming out, it's going to be on Switch, it's going to be easy to get, yada yada. But that goes back to me too, kind of like doing a little bit of my own promotion for it, because there was this whole kind of talk, like I was saying, and going around in different Disgaea circles, that like basically if this one didn't sell well, that it could be an end to the series, or at least an end to the series in the West, because like it had been so long since 5. And like when 5 came out, it overall had like mixed receptions, not because of it being a bad game, like a lot of people even say 5 is one of their favorites to this day, but because like when it came out, long story short, it was overpriced. And like when you could get Disgaea 5 complete, for instance, when it launched, I can't remember the exact launch price it came out to, but I know it was at least like $100 or $120, you know, American, something like that, and people were just pissed about it.
Do you think that they priced those games because of the fact that it's probably a smaller team working on it? They know it's not going to sell as much, so they put up the price so that they can sort of make back as much margin as possible?
Honestly, I don't know, because of course, like when Disgaea 5 first came out, you know, anything that, you know, was then put into complete, you could get as individual DLC. But I think it was just because of the fact that by the time the complete edition had come out, it had already been out for so long, and like it was one of those things that like if you had just originally gotten it, or if you bought the game like on sale and then bought all of the DLC, that it could have potentially been cheaper. I don't remember all the exact reasons, but I just remember there being a lot of backlash behind it when it first came out.
One of the issues that I kind of have looking into it, and especially with the Disgaea series, is the fact that their release dates are very inconsistent depending on region and on consoles, right? Because even looking at Disgaea 5, it came out on the PS4. Okay, there was a few months between Japan and the European release, and around that time it was almost kind of understandable, right? Because of localization, because of all of that kind of stuff. It's okay, it came out in March in Japan, and then it came out in October the same year for the rest of the world on the PS4. Then 2 years later, it made its way to the Switch. Another year later, it made its way to PC. It's always that kind of thing. And I've noticed that also with Disgaea 6, which kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I remember when the game came out, there was this whole discussion around the fact that we're supporting this game, we want to support this game, but it's not coming out on the console that we want to play it. It's coming out on the Switch. And I thought that was just so weird.
Yeah, that was such a weird decision. Like, you know, because for a long time there, it was kind of giving off the impression that it was even only going to be on Switch. Like, they never even mentioned that it was going to even ever be on any other systems, whether that be, you know, PC, PS4, PS5, whatever. So that's why, you know, a lot of people were kind of irked too. I know some people that went out and they weren't even really Switch or Nintendo fans, but they went out and got one just so they could play Disgaea 6. You know, granted, of course, they're glad they've got one and have played all the other amazing games on the system. But yeah, it was kind of a really weird whole convoluted impression that the company was even giving off at the time, you know, through all the announcements and everything. And I'm not saying that they were trying to be deceitful in any way. I don't feel that, but I honestly think that they might also just kind of do things on a wing and a prayer. Like, I think they wanted to launch it on Switch because of, at the time, you know, the Switch was like the hot console going on, and they wanted to see if they could drum up enough business on that, and maybe they could take, you know, the money and development time to put it on other systems. But I think a game like Disgaea, to me, it doesn't seem like it would be really that hard to develop for other consoles, and that's why you can play them just about everywhere now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even mobile games, you know.
There is, exactly. There's Disgaea RPG, I believe is the name of it.
I mean, there's even a Disgaea visual novel game.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I don't remember the name because I don't play it, but yeah, there's a game, and a lot of people, that's like their favorite game in the whole franchise.
Okay.
I just stick to the traditional Disgaea games, you know, 1 through 6.
For me, that was just a very weird thing, because obviously I don't mind playing it on the Switch because of the main reason that I didn't have a PC, like I mentioned, and I didn't really want to get this game on the PlayStation systems. I wanted it to play on one system and then just leave it as it is, right? Because I'm like that with so many other Japanese games, like the Atelier series, right? For example, I would like to play all of my Atelier games on the Switch, and obviously now it's going to get to a point where the Atelier games, okay, I was able to play the first Atelier Riser on Switch because obviously it was quite basic, but I can't play Atelier Riser 2 or 3 on the Switch because it just doesn't perform as well, right? Because it's a very complex game. Disgaea, not so much. So I feel like it felt right to be playing it on the Switch, at least the first one. But this is another thing that I found really odd about NIS America. So they put Disgaea 1 on the Switch. I don't think 2 got a release on Switch for some reason.
I don't believe so.
So it just jumped from, okay, well, I'm just quickly checking. So yeah, 2 got released on PS2 and then the PlayStation Portable. And I think it's on Steam as well, which is great. So it got a re-release on Steam in 2017. 3 was a PlayStation 3 game and Vita.
And I just want to touch here on 2, for instance, too, like how you were talking about how like the release windows and things like that are kind of odd too. I still remember like even like me and my roommate being so much into the original Disgaea that we didn't even find out on our end about Disgaea 2 until like months after that game came out. We were like, what, how, like, why was this never like advertised anywhere? Why was this never shown anywhere? Like, I remember that was a big thing with 2 for a long time. A lot of people just didn't even know about it, and then it got to a point where it was even becoming like really hard to find. And this was, like I said, back in the PS2 era, and for a lot of people, Disgaea 2 is their favorite game in the series. And like the fact that you can get it on Steam now is pretty much like its saving grace.
Exactly, because you can't get it on anything else, realistically speaking. Who's really going to boot up a PlayStation 2 in this day and age? It's just inconvenient, right? And if you want to play those older games, you really can't unless you're playing them on PC, or, and this is one of the things, if you ever own a Steam Deck, I'm not a big fan of the Steam Deck, but it seems like if you want to play these games on the go, you know, you kind of almost need to play it on Steam Deck. One thing that I didn't understand as well was that they re-released Disgaea 5 before re-releasing Disgaea 4. I'm like, what the fuck? That doesn't even...
I'm sitting here looking now at like the Disgaea games and when they were released on Switch. I'm just looking purely at Switch right now, and like the releases are just so out of whack. And the fact that you can play 1, 4, 5, and now 7, but there's no 2, or 3.
Which it doesn't make sense.
But yeah, what if someone wants all of them on Switch? Like, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, and this is the thing I don't understand as well, because NIS America has always been really good at like re-releasing games. I know they did this for when they were still taking care of Danganronpa, right? They put it onto one cart and they did 1-2 Reload, which was 1 and 2. They did the same with the Prinny games, right? They brought the Prinny games over, which didn't. It's like, what? Like, what? Seriously? I'm pretty sure that the Prinny games aren't as popular as Disgaea as a series as a whole, right? Considering that he is a character from Disgaea, right?
For the Prinny, yeah. Well, and they're in other games too and everything.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they first started in the original Disgaea.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I was like, so how's Prinny getting their games remade? And like, it just didn't make much sense to me. And I'm like, okay, what stops NIS America from just like bundling it on one cart and being like, look, this is Disgaea 1 to 4 or 1 to 3, and then you can buy 4 and 5 separately, and then 6 or whatever. I think that would have been a nice sort of bundle. You know what I think might be the issue is publishing rights, because I've looked at it. It kind of suffers from the same thing, the same issue that a lot of different Japanese games from the PlayStation 2 era suffer, which is the fact that, okay, in America, those games were kind of, I think they were published by Atlas, if I'm not mistaken, at one point.
Yes. It looks like just the first one was Atlas. From Disgaea 2 on, it was NIS America.
In America, the first one was Atlas. The UK was Koei Tecmo, or Koei from back then.
Koei, I know, also made at least one of the games for the DS. I never picked up the DS one, though, but I know that they made at least one for the DS.
And it's weird. It's like Koei was publishing all of the Japanese games, and I think Koei had this sort of weird relationship with NIS America, or even NIS in general, because to a certain degree, before Koei bought out Gust, the people that were publishing the Atelier games, even for a short period after Koei bought out Gust, it was NIS America that were publishing them. And to think, I think Disgaea 1 and 2 was Koei in Europe, and then 3 was Square Enix in Europe, and 4, I think at that point it was NIS America onwards.
That's really, really weird.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here also checking out just the Switch releases again. It's funny how they list UK, EU separate from North America, but like they're like mostly on the same day, or if not, just mere days apart. But again, they're all in partnership with NIS America and Nipponichi.
The reason why the American dates are different to the UK dates is because usually games in America get released on a Tuesday, and in the UK they get released on a Friday. It's so weird. Don't ask why, but that's just how it is.
Interesting.
It's always been like that. I don't know why, but that's always been the case. I think in more recent years where you get massive AAA titles, it's not like that, but it still tends to be like that with certain Japanese titles for some odd reason. But that's just how it's more of an issue with the times, I guess. But anyway, that's beside the point. But it is quite interesting, and I think almost the fact that we don't have 2 and 3 re-released makes me think that there is a publishing issue.
It's really frustrating too, because not me, but I know quite a few people that they say 2 is their favorite in the series. Like, it's a really popular game. And honestly, like, I'm an outlier here. 3 is actually my favorite. I don't know of anyone else that says 3 is their favorite, but yeah.
It brings me on to the point, why is it your favorite? What about Disgaea is interesting to you? Because for me, when I was playing initially, I liked the concept of it. I liked the idea of it. But I think it's a game that took me a long time to kind of get used to, because it kind of used that ATB sort of system.
Just for me in general, like I like your more, old school, traditional RPGs. I like, your turn-based systems and things like that. Like, probably my favorite battle system, in RPGs is the one from Final Fantasy VI, which is why I still say it's like my favorite game pretty much of all time, still to this day. Even though PlayStation 2 is old now, but like this guy overall, it's a mixture of old school traditional gameplay, but with over the top attacks and achievements. Like, that's one of the things that they use in their marketing is, hitting level 999 and, doing, millions of damage and all the different crazy combos. And like, that's one of the things I like was like, you can both be serious in the game and try to min-max, but you can also do it while like simultaneously making things humorous and everything. So like, one of the reasons why I like 3 so much is it's the one that brought in I'm brain farting on the name of the mechanic now, but it's one where you could have like monsters. So as you play the game, not only do you unlock new characters and new classes, but you also unlock monsters that you've like defeated, that you can use them to create as playable characters. But in 3, you were given the ability to basically have them like partner up with another character that you had, and those monsters would actually change into a weapon. So whatever type of weapon that character used, whether it be like guns or bows or stabs or whatever, the monster would change into a weapon and boost that character for like, I want to say like 5 or 6 turns during the game, and I just really enjoyed that mechanic a lot.
Is there anything that you'd say a lot of people in the community may have been a little bit disappointed with number 6? So what do you think could have needed improvement with number 6? Or what kind of features do you think, oh, what the hell's going on here?
Oh man, so I can kind of get into a lot here, and like I said, depending on your exact circles that you go in, talking within the Disgaea fandom and community, like 6 is never even brought up as a contention as being the best. You know, every now and then you'll have, you know, your stalwarts that'll be like, oh, it's definitely my favorite, but then a lot of times it's also those people's first, which I get, you know, like your first game in a series tends to end up being a lot of people's favorites and everything. So I think 6 was a big departure, and not just because of the move to the 3D sprites, like that's a big part of it, but I don't think it's just because of the overall feel and narrative felt like they were taking like a big swing with the game. And like I applaud some of the changes they made to make it more friendly for new people jumping in the series, but to me it kind of, I don't want to say drove away, but you know, put like roadblocks or less of a desire to play from the long time or general audience. And like for me, like I've never even completed 6. I just never felt like playing it, you know. I didn't get into the characters as much and everything, and I think the big double-edged sword with the game is the auto battle system. They implemented it, which, you know, while it made it super easy for new people to, you know, jump into the game and looking for different time-saving options. Of course, it's great for, you know, as people are older like me that don't have a lot of time for gaming, it's a great time-saving option with that, which, you know, Disgaea itself is notorious for being a grind fest of a game. It's the only way that you can get like all the achievements and reach max level and get all your attacks and abilities top. It's like, it's grinding after grind. It's not just grinding on stages, but grinding in the item world, and like, yeah, it's a grind fest series, but you know, you gotta be in that type of gameplay mindset to get into them. But it almost kind of made it in a way where people had to use the autoplay feature, the auto battle system. You could not play the game for days worth of game time with it just running in the background, and you could come back to completely leveled up and OP characters. They're shallow because you're, you know, not as deep into the game, but you could then take those now OP characters and just breeze through the game without much of a challenge. And like you only really needed to play like each stage as you played through the game just to then unlock it to be able to use the auto battle feature. But then after that, you know, once again, you just go with the OP crew and just keep farming over and over again. And it kind of killed a lot of the challenge or any sense of real accomplishment in the game as far as I'm concerned, you know. And there are some things in the game that are designed for you to also have achievements from auto battling, and like I said, going back, you know, to them being, you know, grinding, there were some times when you would just mindlessly grind the same stage over and over without the auto battle system in the older games, and the auto battle helped that, but the game doing that for you now just makes anything feel kind of cheap, for lack of better words. The fact that the game lets you just not auto battle but also repeat, like you could set the game to auto battle and then automatically repeat, so as soon as the auto battle would finish, you get your loot, the computer would go right back into it, do it in game. You could, in theory, AFK the game from even the first few stages and get, you know, potentially to max level. So just to put things simply, I think it streamlined things a bit too far to the extreme. And now, because of like the praises and success that some people have now given to the auto battle system, they're also going to be integrating it even more, like going into 7 and creating this new like pseudo PvP ranking mode in Disgaea 7, where you set up a party and skills and your team tactics, and you know, like your team and someone else's team will just fight each other. Or I don't think you're fighting each other. I think you're like competing for like stage points. I can't remember exactly how it worked, like you said, it's this weird auto PvP situation, and like there are certain rewards and exclusive items that you can only get from doing this new auto battle system. So it's like people can tell you all they want, oh, if you don't like auto battle, then don't use it, or if you don't like this new ranking mode, don't play it. But the fact that there's now exclusive rewards into that, it's like if you're someone that's, you know, wants to get everything in the game, you're kind of forced into that. And even though the Disgaea series is not really a competitive gaming series, there's always been this just whole kind of like running thing, like, oh, how fast did you get to this level, or how quickly did you beat this boss, or, you know, what level did you get to, or what's your biggest damage, you know. And people have like posted screenshots, like even going back to the original Disgaea games, people taking pictures with their cameras in like the early days of internet, and like, you know, putting them online and sending them in the emails to friends and stuff like that, you know, or showing different just crazy combos of characters they've come up with, or tactics they've used to beat bosses in tough fights. And now it's like this is kind of taking away from that, or it's kind of like you said, it lessens that effectiveness or of, you know, how you manage to get there, because now, like I said, you can just auto battle way, you know, your whole way through the game if you want to.
It's interesting because to me it seems like a feature that was implemented to sort of ease people back into the series, or to attract new players, if that makes sense. Because if you're saying that there was such a gap between 5 and 6, and, you know, a lot of the community that were hardcore fans were like, guys, we need to buy 6 so that we can ensure future titles. Part of me thinks that the auto battling system in itself was kind of there to draw new players in, maybe people who've never played Disgaea before. And I know, being one of them, right, the only game I had played at this point was the first one. I was a bit disappointed by the auto battle system, because it was like, what's the point? Why should I care about the game?
It's one of those things where it's like, I understand the initial intention, but it's just the fact that it kind of ended up becoming abused. And the fact that, like, you know, when you know, off the bat were able to even get, like, you know, DLC characters, you know, that could even help you auto battle even better. So then there was an incentive to even spend more money on the game too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it just, I'm not saying that they meant to do this kind of stuff. It's just like, I don't think they play tested things. Like, think of it like with a card game. When a card, you know, in like Magic the Gathering gets like later banned or restricted, it's because it wasn't play tested enough with, you know, other cards to see how different combos would work. So I kind of think that's what's going on here. And then, of course, too, you know, going back with this game even launching as what we thought was going to be a Switch exclusive at the time was, you know, in hindsight, I think it was a bad idea too, because there's just all kinds of technical issues on Switch. Nothing really game breaking, but things that just kind of make the game meh. So you can either play it in, you know, kind of more jaggedy, you know, performance version, or you can play it in a mode where everything looks better, but at times the game just kind of gets slogged down with its speed and stuff like that. You know, of course, now being on other consoles and the PC port have fixed that, but it just left a really sour taste in a lot of Disgaea fans' mouths, and it's just another defense of them going back, you know, to the older 2D sprite style. And that's why I need to look at Disgaea 7. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been hyped at all for Disgaea 7, especially with this new like pseudo PvP mode announcement, but I don't know when it's even coming out on other systems other than Switch. And I just think that that's a big mistake, that, you know, if they really wanted to get more people, it should launch simultaneously across different systems.
I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at the NIS website. The game is looking to come out. No, it's coming out on all systems. So,
well, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's coming out in the fall on all systems, on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. So I think probably what it is that I'd imagine NIS had taken it on board, at least a lot of the backlash, and I think probably they had sold enough copies of 6 to sort of allow themselves some sort of breathing room in terms of the releases there as well. To be fair with you, 7 looks interesting to me in the sense that it's very like samurai themed, Sengoku era themed, and I think,
yeah, like, oh my gosh, like when I first saw the art coming out for it, I was like, oh, this looks really freaking cool. But like I said, it's just it's the battle system that's you know, really really turning it off for me, you know, and like I'm like I don't want to have to feel like I'm being forced in this mode that I don't want to play, but someone like me that wants to get different items and rewards, like I would have to. So this is going to be one of those games that I'm not going to buy it, you know, obviously on launch. I'm going to wait for different reviews. I'll probably even wait for a sale for it. I'm sure I'll get it eventually just because I'm a Disgaea fan, but I've not been hyped or looking, you know, forward to it at all. And like I said, you know, granted, I didn't play 1 or 2 at launch, and 1 was just because I didn't know anything about it till my roommate picked it up. 2, we just didn't even know when it came out. We like discovered it by accident. But of course, you know, like 3, when it came out on PS3, of course I got it, and I got 4, I got 5, and now I got 6. But now I'm waiting.
I mean, to be fair with you, the game seems like it's relatively priced anyway. I'm looking at the NIS website, so NIS Europe website, which is run by Reef Entertainment, friends of the show, as you guys know. But I've noticed that they're selling the PS5 version of the game, the standard PS5 version, for the same price as the Switch at £45 and 83 pence, and it's a deluxe edition. So I think that's a relatively really good price. Oh, sorry. For some reason, they do this bullshit. I'm sorry, Reef Entertainment. My apologies for saying this, but why don't you put the price, including VAT? We live in the UK. You need to put the VAT on there. Don't just do this whole don't put the VAT until you click on it. We're not in America. Don't pull that bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm a bit annoyed by that. But okay, £55. Still relatively reasonable for a deluxe edition of a game. But, you know, and you get an art book and you get a soundtrack and a reversible cover. I think that's pretty decent. But yeah, as you said, the artwork looks so fantastic for this game, and I'm a bit conflicted on it.
I really wish they would go back to the 2D sprites. I don't hate the 3D stuff, but there was just something I don't want to say unique, because of course it was because of the time when the game came out, you know, like that was just, you know, technical limitations or everything. But I like that style so much better. I like 2D art and stuff. Like there's artists that I follow on Twitter, that's all they do. They make like recreations of games and different artwork in 2D, and just something to me that's very special about that style. I wish they would go back to it.
I will mention this, the 3D models in this game look a lot cleaner compared to 6, because 6 kind of felt a little bit jank. This one looks really sharp.
It really did. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think they did, you know, will improve that, obviously. So, like I said, I'm waiting for reviews. I hate to sound like a negative Nancy and everything, you know, and I'm, you know, old man yelling at clouds here, but that's just kind of how I feel right now. It's like, and what hurts is that this isn't the only gaming franchise that I've played, like, since I was a young lad, that is making changes that I just don't like or agree with. And it's just like, it just keeps happening over and over again with, like, some of my, you know, beloved franchises.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, this wasn't a franchise I grew up with, so I'm going to kind of try my best to keep an open mind. I didn't quite like 6, but I don't know, that the art style and the fact that the game is sort of set in this sort of feudal Japan inspired, you know, scape makes me really excited, because I love the Sengoku era. I love games based on that.
Like I said, I'm totally on board with you there. I really am intrigued by that, and it definitely looks like it's going to be something quite different than what we've seen in pretty much any other, you know, Disgaea game. But like I said, I'm being pessimistic here, and I'm not writing the game off, but it's one of those things. I'm in a holding pattern. I'm gonna wait and see, especially from other people in the Disgaea community or reviewers that I trust.
Fair enough. NIS America, if you are listening, which I hope you are, because we love you guys, friends of the show, NIS America, but NIS, if you are listening, I'm almost going to give you guys a challenge, all right? Will has been a big fan from the very beginning. I'm somewhat, you know, new to the series, so I'm requesting, and I'm going to say this on the podcast now, I'm requesting that we both get code for this game, and then we can give our opinions. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think it's going to happen at this point, but if you're listening, NIS,
I'll take a Steam code, please.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, I'll take a PS5 code or a Switch code, and then we'll take a Steam code. The reason why I'm saying that, we're not here to beg for codes, but the reason why I'm saying that is because I really do think that they maybe could change our mind.
If 7 ends up, you know, winning me back and everything, that's fine. I could just, you know, I can put both my collector's editions of Disgaea 6 on the shelf. Yes, I have both. I have both the Japanese and the North American release. That's how much I love the Disgaea series. Even though I'm sitting here bitching and complaining about it, I want to support the series. series. So one quick little like dig I gotta get in there. So the Japanese and the American collector's editions are like almost identical except for the box that they come in, and the Japanese version actually comes with the physical music CD, whereas the North American one, it's a download. Come on, guys.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, but you can argue that in Japan, physical media is more prevalent, especially with music, compared to in the West. You can make that argument. I'm not here to defend NIS America, but that argument can be made. One thing that I will want to say here, and one reason that we're kind of urging for code, is because at the end of the day, we are reviewers, right? We review these games so that you guys can make an informed decision, and we don't really get the option to do that unless we get code. So NIS, if you are listening, I'd really do want to make that point that it would be nice for us to get 2 codes for the game, just so we can experience it and actually have a more in-depth discussion, because I'm coming from a position where I'm relatively new to the series. Will is somewhat of a veteran, been playing it since the very beginning. So I think having that sort of discussion and having sort of the representation of both style of gamer or both style of customer for NIS would be very interesting, because they're going to have to think about, and I'd imagine they're put in this very difficult situation where they have to both serve the existing player base as well as the newcomers. At least you need those newcomers for the game series to be sustainable in the future, but also you can't leave those existing players behind because they brought you to where you're at and they can easily leave. It's a very difficult thing for them to sort of deal with, and I think it would be really nice for us to sort of try and take that on for you guys, NIS, a little bit, and help you guys out with that. So yeah, that being said, Will, thank you for coming on today.
It was fun. It's definitely interesting. Sorry if I, did come up sounding overly negative or whatever. I mean, even though I haven't finished it myself, I do still recommend people picking up Disgaea 6, just maybe not on Switch if you, have other means of getting it now. Just if you are a newcomer, I think it is a really good entry as far as that goes and everything. Oh, I never did give you like my actual list of ratings on Disgaea games. I'll just give you a really quick breakdown of it. So my personal rankings go 3, 1, 4, 5, 2, and 6. And like I said, not that 2 is bad. None of them are bad at all. And I will gladly replay 1 through 5 at any time. 6, I don't know when I'm gonna get back to it. I know it sounds crazy, as much as I've sat here complaining about buying it twice, I just might buy it again on Steam and start all over again, so I don't have to worry about a lot of the issues I had with Switch. Okay,
fair enough. That makes sense. You mentioned that you wanted to apologize, and I think you shouldn't. And I think, and I'm saying this as a games journalist and as a games reviewer, never really apologize for your opinions, because at the end of the day, these are valid criticisms. You didn't say the game was dog shit. You didn't say anything bad about the game inherently. You just gave feedback that I think is valuable to NIS America, valuable to Nipponichi Software, because this is what they should be taking on board to improve the series. Because as I mentioned, they've only gotten to 5 or 6, at least before 7 was announced, they only gotten to that point where they can have 7 games because of their fandom, because of their fans, right? Not as many people kind of got into it until 6 in terms of kind of making it more mainstream. So they had to rely on their fans that were there since the PS2 days, right? So I don't think you should apologize for your opinions. And big thanks to NIS America for actually providing us with code. I don't know, did I get you a code? I got some. They gave us 2 codes for 6. And I can't remember if I gave you one of the codes or not.
No, because I told you I didn't want it because I was going to be buying it regardless. Because I'm a Disgaea fan, so I want to financially support them.
Okay, because I remember, oh no, you know what, it was Jacob. Me and Jacob got code for the game.
Yeah, because I remember I told you, because I was saying maybe, give it to Jacob to see if he can get into the series, see if he likes it, type of stuff too.
There just you. They offered us 2 codes, which shout out to NAS. Thank you for doing that. Not many games companies do it, so you guys are the real OGs for offering. Literally, they sent me an email and they're like, do you want 2 codes so that you guys can discuss on the podcast? I was like, hell yeah, we're going to do that. So hopefully NIS can do that again. We love you guys, and I think hopefully in the future you guys as an audience, will be seeing more content surrounding NIS titles. It's been a long time coming, and to be fair with you, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming to Europe because of Europe and obviously the US because of NIS, I guess. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but they're bringing over a lot of visual novel games. They're bringing a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah, you were telling me about this the other day, and I was like, really? I said, because I didn't even know like that Europe had like a visual novel market. So
yeah,
like, that's really cool.
It's sort of a small market at the moment, but it's not many people are playing into it, and not many people are like publishing games. It's pretty much limited to like Numbskull Entertainment. They'll do one or two.
It's basically like untapped potential there.
Yeah, especially in Europe, it's getting so much bigger now. Especially like GALP and Otome games and stuff like that. It's becoming really, really popular in more recent years, and it's an untapped market. And NIS is doing a great job of it. I know that there's other games companies that aren't taking full advantage, like Koei Tecmo. I don't know if you know this. They actually own a games development studio that actively make visual novel games and like Otome games and GALP and stuff like that, but they don't publish it outside of Japan, which is just mind-blowing because that community is growing so much more in the UK. And I think, you know, it's a great thing that NIS is doing.
It's kind of funny when you think about that, because there's some of the guys that, like I said, that I follow like on YouTube and stuff like that they still play like PSP and Vita games, and like they're finding ways of like modding like visual novel games that came out for those systems so people can play them in English. So it's kind of weird that like there's definitely a market there, but you know, no one just kind of pushes for it outside of the PC market.
And no one is, to be fair with you. And I think NIS, I know for me, we recently released an episode. By the time this comes out, we recently released an episode in which I talk about other NIS titles like Criminal Girls, which is such an old title at this point, but it's one that I still do really love to this day. Like Criminal Girls, and there's another one called Poison Control, which I think is also an excellent game. And I think the one thing that I do love about NIS titles, especially the ones that they make in-house, you know, the localization I think is top-notch. Because, you know, sometimes you get some really shitty localization from like other publishers. No, I'm not going to say who, but certain publishers won't take as much time in terms of localization, and they won't translate things properly. And, you know, like, I don't know, like, at least in the early days, right, no one really cared about like Japanese titles, and these guys have taken so much care and effort, you know, even from back in the day, to bring these titles, even if it's titles that they don't even have anymore, like the Danganronpa series, right? We wouldn't have had the Danganronpa series come to the West if it wasn't for NIS America. Mind you, they don't take care of that series anymore, but the effort that they put in. And GALP and NIS go way, way back in terms of our sort of relationship, and I think they've helped us out a lot in the sense that our first games in terms of code and in terms of review were NIS titles. And I think even our first interviews with game developers and like producers and localization teams were people from NIS America. So that's why at the moment, because we're hitting almost, I think, 14 years or 13 years of GALP, our anniversary is coming up soon. So we kind of want to go back and talk
That's
about...
wild, man. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. And I think we want to go back and sort of, you know, show love to those who've basically got us this far. And obviously NIS is one of them. I know in you know, recent years, we haven't really been covering a lot of their games. And I think only because of the fact that it's just, you know, with COVID and all that kind of stuff, it's just been a pain in the ass. But we're trying to get back onto it. And that's one of the reasons. Like, for example, if you wanted to, if you live in Europe and you're like, you know what, I want to play Disgaea and I want to get into it, you can go to the NIS America website, store.nisaeurope.com, type in Disgaea 1 Complete. You can currently get a brand new copy of Disgaea 1 Complete on the Nintendo Switch for £10. That's insane.
Well, I will say that's one thing I will say that they've been really good about doing in general is just keeping even the older games going. You know, even though some you can only get on Switch, just the fact that you can still play like pretty much every Disgaea game, you know, even now after the game has been out for 20 something years now. That's really cool that they're able to do that, you know, like you said. And the fact that you can still get Disgaea 1 digitally is really good. So yeah, I will say too, like if you have a PS3 still as well. Then they have a couple of different collections even on PS3 to this day of some of the older games. So there are ways to get them even now.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, like, even when you're looking at it, like, I'm looking at their website right now, like, they still really do support their older titles, which is insane. Like, how the hell is it possible to buy a brand new copy of a game? Like, if I was to go on eBay now to buy Disgaea 1, it would at least cost me like £40. Like, you could buy like brand new copies of these games for like super dirt cheap. Like, even like really rare games, like they still sell PS3 games brand new on their website. Like, okay, Witch and the 100 Knight, right? Which it's also an NIS series. You can get that for like what, £12, £13. It's still good. Akiba Strip 1 or Akiba Strip 2, sorry. Akiba Strip 1 is done by Exceed, but Akiba Strip 2, Undead and Undressed, right? Also a fantastic game. You can get that for £14. So it's stuff like that. And I think, yeah, shout out to NIS, man. I hate saying this, and I know people will be like, oh, Bish, you're shilling out. But I think at the end of the day, they helped us out. We want to help them out. Not that they need our help, but we want to kind of show that love back to them. So NIS, if you're listening, we love you. A big shout out to our sponsors, Sugoimon and Crunchyroll. And Will, I think, do you have any last words for this episode? Not in general, just for this episode.
For this episode, just want to say that if this is your first time even hearing of Disgaea, I definitely suggest it being a series that people try. Like I said, even at the time when I got into it, my kind of taste in gaming had shifted away from that market. Now, in my older age, I've kind of gone back to that. Like, I'm really into turn-based RPGs and strategy games, stuff like that. And like, they're just solid games. There's those games that are simple to learn, simple to get into, but difficult to master. And that's, the perfect type of, game for me and people like me. So I definitely say, give them a try.
GG. But yeah, that being said, see you guys.
Bye, Bish.
Well, say bye to the audience, Will. You don't need to say bye to me. Say bye to the audience. Jeez.
Bye, audience. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.